evidence of the distinction. That's what the philosopher wants at all times. Evidence, evidence, evidence. That word evidence comes from two Latin words, or rather a preposition and a word. Video in Latin, video, means I see, from. Evidence means what you see from, how you draw your conclusions, what's your evidence, in other words, as we'd say in English. So, there are a number of things. If you look on page 19, essentially subordinated efficient causes, and therefore dependent in their efficiency, dependent on another for their due. The hand, chisel, statue. The statue depends upon the chisel depends upon the hand. We're going to look at that later in detail, but we're going to see it a little more carefully than most people see it. Or the hand uses the axe to make a gash in the tree. Therefore, things are imperfect and perfectible. Things are dependent on other things. That's a sign that things are composed, they're limited. A sign that things are limited. This gentleman has an intellect. He's more valuable than the whole rest of the universe put together. He's more valuable than all the stars, the mountains, the streams, the rivers, the land, the bank accounts. One human person is infinitely above all those things. But he's not the only one. There's another one, there's another one, there's another one. So we're all limited in everything we do. We're all limited. We're all perfectible. And those of us that are over 105, we all know. See, that's a skill we develop. You crack a joke that gives you time to blow your nose.
We're on to you now.
So therefore, things are limited. They can become more perfect. Look at the block of marble. Beautiful block of marble. You can let that bust of Socrates in there escape. So the block of marble in a way is more perfectible than it was before. So, and things are contingent. Contingent means they may be not. They don't necessarily be. That's what contingent means. Therefore, they're imperfect and perfectible. Then there are things of graded perfection. I always remember, or take the amethyst sitting on my coffee table. A rock I bought up in Canada one time from a rock hound. It's beautiful. This lovely amethyst, all this piece of rock is almost pure amethyst. Beautiful. But then once at the Fitzroy Falls in Australia, I saw a little mushroom. It was more beautiful than the rock. I remember at the time it had a sort of a crimson colour to it. Then another occasion I saw in a park in Ottawa, along the Rideau Canal, I saw a dog. People were walking along and stopping and looking, and I thought, what are they all looking at? This dog had a magnificent statue. There's something about it was just outstanding. I can't even remember what kind it was, one of these big fellas, you know. Then on another occasion, I'm standing right outside the White House in Washington, and somebody said, look at that woman. And people were all turning around and looking at her, gasping. A black woman was walking past and had what the only way I could describe it was a majestic walk. There was something about it. It just sprung out. When we come to study beauty, we'll have a lot to say about that. But the walk of that woman was something just to be admired. There was a beauty about it. So there are graded beauties in the world. Nothing is of its very nature beautiful. It has beauty. We can't say it is beauty, but we'll see there's one being we can say is beauty, is goodness, is truth. But we all have beauty. And we don't all possess it at once, because this lady has some, but so has Jenna. She's got some. So none of us have got a sort of a, what do we call it, the monotony of the beauty world. So therefore, things are limited. Graduated perfections. This is true, that blue and red are opposite colours. This is more true. Nothing can be and not be at the same time under the same respect. So there are degrees of truth. There are degrees of truth in learning. I'll never forget the first time I saw De Partibus Animalium by Aristotle concerning the parts of animals, where he said that all animal sounds are passion sounds. And they all have as one end, as same end, etes and sexes. Etes to preserve the individual, sexes to preserve the species. I'd heard Woodbury say that 100 times, but when I saw Aristotle say it, something about it thrilled me. Then beings, even those which lack knowledge, operate in order to get what is best. They depend on an intelligent orderer, this is E on that page 19, which orders them towards their end, that is, towards what is best. Therefore they are imperfect and perfectible. Every being operates for the sake of an end. Either it's fixed in the nature of the being, or something freely orders itself to its end. And only one being on this earth does that, that's man. When I say man, I mean that other thing too, you know, that's called woe to men. It's shortened into woman, I believe.
Are we talking about death here? And
If we are, I've had one too many whiskies. No, not death.
what end?
Pardon?
What end?
The final cause. For instance, when we put the kettle on to make coffee, the end is coffee. We get on a plane to go to Paris, the end is Paris. That's what I mean by end. The end for which the action proceeds. Not the finish of man, not the end of man in this respect. That's only one special kind of end. I'm talking about end generally. Every being operates for the sake of an end. Therefore, according to these men teaching evolution, something develops tails or horns or something else, it must be intelligent. Because always when an end exists, there's intellect behind it. Either man's intellect or God's intellect. Either man's intellect when it's a free action, or if it's a necessary action, then it's the author of man. No man can order himself to develop this particular means. Like a dog. When a dog develops something, or something evolved, they use the term evolved. It's a lovely, nice term. I wonder how many even of these people know what the meaning of the word is. To roll out from is the meaning of it.
What about animals? Do they have an end?
Yes, fixed end. Look, if the Hairyomophyla, it takes, this is a beautiful example, it takes a caterpillar, the female does. She's already killed and eaten the male. A lot of experiments have been done on this. And it kills the male, eats it, then goes and compresses the seventh ganglion of a caterpillar and digs a hole, pushes the caterpillar in it, lays her eggs in the folds of the skin of the the paralyzed caterpillar. Now then she covers it, the hole, the spot where it's sort of a nest, then goes off and dies. No, but see what happens when you eat your husband? So don't do that, ladies. So, yeah. Now the children are brought up without parents. They do exactly the same. The thing is not that it's wonderful what they do. What is remarkable is they never do anything else but that. That's the point. You see, you see birds come in on a branch. Did you ever see a bird come to a branch and say, whoops, I missed, I'll go back and try it again? The calculation is done naturally. They've got an inbuilt plan of action, just like the computer has. Once the computer has certain things, no matter what you print, you can't say to the computer, well, I'd like you to turn this into a biblical story. No, the computer won't do it. It's fixed. The animal's like that. We call it instinct. Aristotle called it natural prudence. Prudence, we have free prudence. What kind of shoes will I wear? Oh, I've got to think at the airport they're going to put me through through the machine, etc. Oh dear, what kind of clothing will I take? What will it be like in Sydney? This happened to me last October when I went to Sydney. 9th of October, I think it was. And I had to think of the airports and one set of shoes. And when I got there, they said, what about this? Do I take the lady said, will your pants stay up? I says, I hope. She caused her to have a bit of a giggle. So the question is, it takes intellect to design end. Why? Because the end doesn't exist yet. We're going to know something in the future. Animals are tied to the here and now. There's no intellect in an animal. That's very easy to determine. There are four.
I noticed that there's intellect in an ant.
Is it the intellect of the ant or the intellect of the designer of the ant? They never do anything. They never do anything else but what they do. They operate within the range of their instinct. Are you talking about the ant that's married to your uncle, or the? What do they do that you think causes you to think they have intellect?
They stop and listen if they hear you talking.
Are they listening?
Yeah.
Are they listening and understanding words, or are they just listening to sound?
The sound. They're listening.
That's all. They're influenced by sound. That's like when they find that cows, when you play music near them, that they give off the music better, because they've given that all away now, the idea that all the cows are listening. They're just, by the rhythm of sound, just soothed by something which is associated with humans. Did somebody have a question?
Oh, I was just thinking, we're humans and we don't have fixed
We don't have what?
limits. Like, we have to stay inside our boundaries. Well, do we have what you would call inside of an ant, the fixed? Do we have that inside us, or do we have
We have instincts too. We have instincts too. Psychologists are fond of denying this, but look at all those teenagers out, pardon?
And we have senses.
But that's not instinct.
And
Instinct
still,
is in the estimative sense of the animal. The highest sense an animal has, a brute animal, is called estimative sense. And that's where that's the centre of instinctive activities. And they perform acts of natural prudence. They'll adapt this to that. But if ants have intellect, then, my friends, we're in a hell of a situation. I committed murder a few times. Firstly. Secondly, where are their churches? Because something with intellect is by naturally religious. Where are their universities? Where are their schools? No. We'll deal with that in philosophical psychology when we come to it. That'll possibly be one of the courses we deal.
But his question's an interesting one. Is there anything fixed in us?
Oh, yes. But we can go against it. That's called free will.
free will? But what if you react against something that's already fixed?
Well, we can do that.
Like,
But ought we do it? That's what ethics deals with. What ought we do?
but wouldn't you change that structure too, because you manipulated that?
Which structure? Which structure are you talking about?
I'm just trying to figure out what makes us so unique, kind of, you know.
Oh, because we have intellect and will. That's what makes us unique. You see, we can understand ends and reason towards ends. And we can set the ends. And we can choose the means. There's two things we can do. Now, I went to Atlanta, Georgia on one occasion. And the university approved of me going there and funded it as a World Congress of Philosophers. Excuse me, oh no, I'm sorry, a National Conference on Capital Punishment. I went to present a paper. First of all, I was free to go or not to go. decide whether I wanted to go or not to go. Secondly, I could say, well, there are different ways I could go. I could walk, I could run, I could bicycle, I could drive, I could fly. All those ways. It's the means where we're free. Sometimes we can choose the end if it's not a necessary end. Sometimes people can go against the end. You see, we've got free will, but we have to learn how we ought to use it. And we've also got an inbuilt sense of guilt. If we're wrong, we know it deep down. We know it. See, there are 4 levels. There are 4 levels in the order of judgment. First, there's the supreme principle. We ought to do good and seek good and avoid evil. That's the supreme principle of moral order. Secondly, there are simple principles. We call them secondary principles. Everybody knows the supreme principle. Everybody knows that. A little kid will start acting very, very suspiciously. His mother thought he had his hand in the cookie jar, and he thinks his mother saw him, and boy, is he all guilt-loaded. There's a lovely book written on that. There's a name, Carol Landhouse or Houselander, I can never remember. Yeah. Houselander, isn't it? She wrote a book on guilt and brought out a lot of people who showed a lot of guilt in their lives. Now, it's not legitimate not to know these. But the tertiary principles, I should have put them in this, written them like this. Tertiary principles are more complex. And they take some understanding. If we deny one of these, we know it. We know what we're doing. Even in New Guinea, where I've read about the people who have been killed, police officers and the Australian directors of districts, the KIAP as it's called, the district commissioner, and they go in and they look at the natives and they've got guilt written all over them. They could pick them out quickly, and they see the eyes are bulging when they've been eating human flesh. But if they weren't eating human flesh, they look at them and they've got guilt written all over them. Tertiary principles are a different matter. It's possible to make an error. For instance, the principle of double effect. Now, a priest made a terrible error recently. He attacked a paper I had published. And he said the principle of double effect does not apply. He's the only second one I've ever heard say it. Nobody else has contradicted me on that. And I seem to be the first, according to colleagues, to have brought the principle of double effect into capital punishment. But he attacked me. Well, strangely enough, I know the man. Strangely enough, he's an Australian. But I declined to attack him in a published paper, which I was asked to do, because I didn't write the paper. It was distorted by an editor, so badly butchered that I'm angry about it. And I said, they'll never get another paper from me. You've seen that paper, haven't you? The butchering, etc., was shocking. 2 colleagues have had their papers butchered by that same author. Very discourteous to rewrite a scholar's paper and not even tell him till it comes out published. That's shocking discourtesy. And tertiary principles, it escaped. One priest wrote in his book on ethics, which is not very, very good actually, but nevertheless, he said capital punishment does not meet the requirements of the principle of double effect. He's wrong, because he has not investigated the matter properly. Others recognise what I've done, and they've sent me various papers and things and congratulated me on this. However, tertiary principles may be unknown to the average person. The principle of double effect. Is it lawful to do an act from which 2 ends proceed? A good end and an evil end, provided 4 conditions are met. Now, I'm not going to go on with that. I want to get back to our metaphysics. But that principle needs to be understood. Then the other principle, of subsidiarity. What can be done by the lower ought not be done by the higher. These principles are not readily known to the average person, so it's possible to make a mistake there. And the fourth one is the application of principles. People make mistakes there, like this priest did, this theologian did in a southern state. So there are the four requirements, four possibilities of the natural law. Supreme principle: we ought to do good and seek good and avoid evil. Simple principles, like this: everybody operates for the sake of an end. Tertiary principles are much more complex and require perhaps a knowledge of ethics. Application, lots of people can make mistakes there.
So you're saying that humans,
We did specify, by the way, that it's better to keep the questions till later because this is being recorded and sent throughout the nation. Anyway, go ahead.
humans choose their own end by using their intellect?
Yes, they can.
They can.
Sometimes they don't.
And animals won't do that, but animals make decisions. I mean, a dog won't run in front of a car.
Yeah. But
That's
is
from
that
experience,
the word
but
decision? Is that the same meaning of the word as in the case of man?
I don't know.
No.
I'm not the dog.
Dogs. The first supreme act of any being is to preserve its existence.
Right.
That's the first existence. I've seen a rock split in Australia. A Hungarian farmer took me to see that. Here's the rock. Was about this high, if I remember correctly, on the Burragarang Valley. And here's the whole root system of a plant laid out here. And it's a tree going up about 8 feet above the tree, above the rock. 6 to 8 feet, something like that. That plant was struggling for its existence. Probably a bird dropped a seed. And the roots, what's called the hair roots, start out first, all these little shoots running out, and they gradually build up strength and split this sandstone rock, seeking food and water in amongst the interstices of the sand that the sandstone rock is built out of. A lot of sandstone rock around Sydney. And would you call that a decision by the plant? No, it's sort of a natural prudence too. It's built in. It's an instinctive thing, if you like to call it. It's a built-in plan of action. That's a better way of putting it.
Well, as humans,
Anyway, we dealt with that in
have
philosophical psychology, all of those things. Yep.
As humans, we have an innate.
Yeah, we got that too. I said that before. We have instinctive behavior. Some people, social workers and people like that, deny this, but they don't analyze the thing enough. Look at young kids. Inclination to eating and to sex. God help us, isn't that happening out there in the community now? And then young men will have an inclination to go and dance with a girl. That's what I find funny. When we dance with a girl, we put our arms around them, but nowadays they stand 3 feet from them and call it dancing. Anyway, we'll deal with that on another occasion. So let's get back to metaphysics, if you don't mind. So we meet one of our first philosophical proofs. Argument 1. Or take E on that page there. Beings, even those which lack knowledge, operate in order to get what is best. They depend on an intelligent orderer. Anything which is seeking an end, intellect is always there, because the end doesn't exist. It doesn't exist yet. It's got to aim for something that doesn't exist. Dogs having sexual intercourse on the street are operating for the sake of something, reproduction of the species, but it's built into them. They can't decide that. It's already built into them. All they've done is led by smell, etc., etc. That's a female dog and she's in heat and go after her. That's all automatic, instinctive. But someone, the author of the dog, has pre-prepared the dog to operate in that manner. Dogs never chase elephants. Not for sex, anyway. So, anyway, I saw, by the way, in Naples, Florida, the Jungle Larry and Safari Jane. I met Safari Jane. She's contacted me a couple of times. There are pictures all over the place showing her amongst lions and things. And they had tigerlons. They crossed lions and tigers. Now they won't cross, but how do they make them cross? By recording the mating call of the female. And the female might be a lioness and the male is a tiger, and they put the mating call. And that induced them to have sex, and they had cross between them, which they called tigerlon. There are a whole lot of names, depending whether the father's a full tiger, the mother's a full lion, or the vice versa. And was it a quarter of this, half of that? Oh, whole rigmarole of names they've got. I saw the animals down there. They died then later. There were none left, apparently. But they said that zoos from all over the world were hostile at them for crossing species. They don't, sort of mongrel species they produce that way. They just look like a lion's face with stripes on it and things like that. So things, they were made to do things which were instinctive to them. You don't have to tell a baby to go and suck at the mother's breast. The first act is an instinctive act. I'm sorry, an act of natural prudence with all animals, an act of natural prudence, the first act. After that, it becomes what's called an accustomization, habit forming, if you like, after that, like the calf. So, argument one. Now, here's a good example of what the philosopher does. Here's the principle. The same cannot be the reason of opposites. If you put a chicken in the oven and a chicken in the, and it comes out hot, then put another chicken in and it comes out cold. It's not because of the oven it came out cold. The oven's a reason for something being hot. There's something gone wrong. If you put a chicken in the refrigerator, it comes out cold, good. If another one comes out hot, something's wrong here somewhere. The same cause cannot cause opposite things. That's really what it's saying. But perfection and limitation of perfection are opposites. That's a fact. That beauty and limitation of beauty are opposites. Therefore, the reason of perfection, the act, and the reason of limitation of perfection, potency, are opposites. They're really distinct. That's the cause of the fact, the cause of the limitation. Here's argument two. Potency is sometimes found with and sometimes found without its corresponding perfection. For example, the power of sight and intellect. Sight hasn't got colour when you're sound asleep. You're not looking at colour, or your eyes are closed in a dark room. Sometimes it has its perfection, sometimes it doesn't. But this cannot be unless they are actually diverse or distinct. Therefore, potency is distinct from act. Aristotle there, little book of his writings, he said, for instance, that they're distinct from each other, and he took the intellect, that it sometimes has its perfection, its end, and sometimes not. Result, he proved the immortality of the human soul. Other philosophers have taken that up. We'll see something of those things. So potency is distinct from act. There's argument two. By the way, somebody asked me last week to bring something in. I've spoken to two people so far. I have a feeling there was somebody else I had something for. And I brought Aristotle and St. Thomas. These are student handbooks. Saves me bringing my big 5-volume of St. Thomas, etc. And if anybody wants to see me after, please do on that. They asked me, they said they'd like me to give them a page of something. Now, argument number 3. Real beings can become, that's a fact. Water, although it is cold, can become hot. Putty, if it does be square, it can become round. Silver nitrate does be such, but can become silver chloride. Every chemist knows that. Steak does be cow, but can become meat when you eat it. What you eat today walks and talks tomorrow. But they cannot become unless there was a principle whereby they can become other than what they are. For the same cannot be the reason of opposites. Therefore, real beings have two principles. One whereby they are what they are, the perfection they have, and another whereby they can become other than what they are. They have a potential for being other. That's the cause of the fact. This is just a simple little syllogisms, as they're called. Simple little reasonings. Some of them, for instance, in philosophical psychology, will prove the major, then the minor. Then it'll prove the major of the minor. It'll go on down, might go pages of proofs. But these are simple ones. Proof that some being is composed of act and potency. Being is many only if some being is composed of act and potency. There's a proof there of that. But being is many. Therefore, some being is composed of act and potency. Being can become only if some being is composed of act and potency. There's a principle again. But being does become. Therefore, some being is composed of act and potency. So, now the problem is, I've had some problems with with writing up this stuff. Our good friend Jenna here, you all owe her an enormous debt of gratitude. She spent the summer typing all of this stuff, pages and pages and pages. Unfortunately, unknown to her, because I was the other side of the world, the pages, some of them got a little mixed up. You see, when I left Niagara University, I had to pack up in a hurry because I decided a week before I resigned. I decided 1 week before, and I had to pack an enormous amount of stuff, help with a friend, and pages got a bit mixed. In fact, my garage still has boxes of books in it. I had about 1,000 books in the office and about 6,000 at home. So we go to page 21. So what I'm saying is there's a little bit of duplication might take place here around this time. After 21, up to 20, 19 and 20, I gave out a little too soon. But when we get to page 21, there I had to reorganize it completely because of the mix of pages. And then transferring from her stepfather's computer to my computer again caused problems. On page 21, the real distinction between potency and act. My friends, the whole of Western science depends on this. That's why it's important to tie this down. You'll see, I'm going to show you how the solution, this is a basic solution to this. Proving the existence of God. Proving there's life after death. They're just two practical things. How much tax a government can charge us? What is citizenship? What is the common good? All these things spring out of this eventually. Now on page 21, we see what kind of opposition is there. And it's just a little exercise in logic. Every man is happy. No man is happy. Most people would take that as a contradiction. It's what we call a contrary. It has there's contrariety opposition. This is called a square of opposition. Every man is happy, that's a universal statement. No man is happy, that's another universal statement. Here are the bottom ones. These are called sub-contraries. Some man is happy, some man is not happy. They're sub-contraries. Now here's a contradiction, here's a proper contradiction. Every man is happy, some man is not happy. Every man is happy, it's every is opposed and is opposed. That's to say, contradictories are opposed in the universality and in the verb, the negation. They're both, it opposes in both. Every man is happy is universal. Some man is not happy is particular. Every man is happy is affirmative. Some man is not happy is negative, a negation. The principle of non-contradiction says nothing can be and not be at the same time in the same respect. So they're what we call, or above that, opposition in concepts. Red and blue are contrary opposites. Boy and girl are contrary opposites. Hot and cold, matter and form. But contradictory opposites, red and not red, blue and non-blue. They're contradictory opposites. So there are certain basic principles. Now, let's look at that square of opposition, just for a little fun for a few seconds. Every man is happy, assuming that's true. Some man is happy. Is that true too?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, if some man is happy, that's true, see. Is every man happy?
No.
No, correct. If no man is happy, and some man is happy, is that true?
No.
Quite right. Some man is not happy. If that's true, is the no man is happy? Is that true? I didn't put down here, by the way, something perhaps I should have. We call every man is happy an A proposition. It comes from affirmative. It's the A of, and no man is happy. It's called an E proposition. An E proposition.
E?
E, yes. One's an A proposition, the other's an E proposition. So, having said that, we come to page 22. Don't go try and learning these things off by heart. They take a lot of skill to work them out, let alone try and learn them off by heart. Page 22. For interest's sake, I put it in here and completion's sake. Act, its division. How could you divide acts up? Then later we divide potency up. Pure act. An act without any potency. Act which is unreceived in some potency and unreceptive of some act. That it is pure act. Can such a thing exist? We prove that later. An act without any potency, like forms received in matter, like the hot received in water. Is there some, or better still, let me put it this way. Here's hot in water. When I send my check for my water to the Lewiston Council, I have made the mistake of calling it my waters bill. It became automatic to write my name. Here's the form. Here's the matter. But water itself has form and matter. Aristotle worked on this and worked all this out. Hot water, hot is in water. Water itself is made up form of matter. It's water, it's not gold. So what fixes to be water? The form. But it's divided, it's not just one simple piece of water. Matter multiplies it. Matter multiplies, remember? I showed you by tearing up a piece of paper. Water is multiplied, individuated, and all other forms follow from that. The colour, the shape, the size, all other forms follow that. Accidental forms. We call this a substantial form. We call this primary matter. People have a lot of difficulty understanding primary matter. They've said to me, show me primary matter. I can't show you that. Can it exist without any form? No, it's impossible. It's a nothing. If it existed, it'd have some form. It's impossible. But it's necessary to propose that because water is extended, multiplied, individuated, etc. I'm using this as a simple example, hot water. The hot informs the water. The substantial form of water informs the primary matter. What about this? Say I think most people have enough understanding of chemistry to know what this is. Hydrogen becomes water. What's common to it? Primary matter. Primary matter. The form of hydrogen is lost and the form of water is gained. I shouldn't put that, and I don't usually put it. That's only a mathematical schematization. Chemists pull the wool over their own eyes pretty often about that. H2O doesn't adequately describe what water is. That's only a mathematical schematization of water. So it's better to put water. The form of hydrogen and the form of water. Of course, what complicates it is that oxygen has to come in too. But there it is. There's primary matter, which is it's not even intelligible. It can only be understood through form, and the necessity of it because form is individuated. The form imposes on the matter that it be this or that it have extension and all the other, and colour and all the other properties of material substance. So, my friends, there's pure act or non-pure act. There's a beautiful book I have. I can't remember the title of it. It's Metaphysics. It's never been translated from Latin, I don't think. It's a beauty. And it starts off defining act and potency and dividing up the whole book based upon pure act or mixed potency and act. And there's only one pure act, God. No potency whatsoever. No subjective potency. Or there's operative potency, we'll come to that later. So, yeah.
Are descriptions of potency dependent on time?
No.
They're not.
Why would it be dependent upon time?
Well, does it mean something changes?
Potency doesn't change. Potency, you're thinking probably of operational potency, but that's another question. Potency is a pure principle of receptivity of form. Form is what fixes, potency is what's fixable. The potency of sight is fixable by blue, red. The potency of the intellect, tree, rock, man, kangaroo, all those things can affect in form. That's the true meaning of the word inform, can inform a potency. So non-pure act, that is mixed potency and act, is limited. It's a limited act which is limited by potency. It'd pay you just to reflect over this page. There's the essential act, or formal or quiddative. That is to say, it's either substantial or accidental. Now, if it is unreceptive in a potency, that is to say, the form is not in a potency, let me put it this way. Approach that this way. So there's the form of dog. We know there are many dogs. Doggy form is multiplied. But supposing there's no matter in doggy nature, how many would there be in the world? One. It takes matter to multiply. There'd only be one dog. If there's a being that has no matter, there's only one of them. I know the names of a couple of them. One is Michael, the archangel. Another one is Gabriel. I'm too shy to say the other name. So, couldn't resist that, sorry. Therefore, they are equal to the whole human race, each one. No, they're 10 billion times greater than the human race, each one. The tiniest angel is unlimited, fills a whole species. There are no generics amongst angels. The ancients had an expression, quat sunt angeli, how many angels? Tot sunt species, so many species. If there are 100 angels, there are 100 species. And they're as far from us, each one of them, than we are from dogs and dogs are from trees. Reminds me, I once interviewed some people for employment in my pharmacy. One was a nurse, and to this day I regretted not employing her. The one I did employ had to be arrested. She was being watched by the police, and I didn't know. She forged references and everything. Anyway, this girl, I used to ask her about 33 questions. And I said, how far can a dog run in a forest, into a forest? Of course, the answer is halfway. The other half they're running out. She said, as far as the nearest tree, I suppose. She had a wonderful sense of humour. She had been a nurse and she wanted to get into pharmacy. So, it's not his Michael. There's no primary matter. He's not received in any matter, but he can receive, say, acts of his intellect. In other words, his intellect is in potency, potentiality. A priest friend of mine, he studied with me at the Aquinas Academy as an engineer and then went into the priesthood. In his book, he wrote that an angel's intellect, his acts are identified with his nature. Woodbury said to me, you know what Barry wrote? No. He told me what he wrote. I said, that makes him the fourth person of the Trinity or something like that. He said, exactly. And Oxford University published this, recommended by that famous woman philosopher, I can't remember her name, and published it. Here it is, a glorious error. I didn't have a copy of his thesis, but I found a copy somewhere for $1 and bought it. That's about what it was worth. So angelic essence is not received in any potency, but it is receptive of other acts. So that's angelic intellect, angelic things. Now, if one is received in a potency and receptive of some act, that's a substance, substantial potency, act rather, substantial form. Us, for instance, we belong in that category. There's the angelic and then us. Then accidental acts are received in a potency, its substance, like the yellow of gold is received in gold, and receptive of some further act. For example, you can shape the gold. Now it's not only got the, you see, accidents come in a certain order. You've got a substance. Then you've got quantity, that's an accident. Then you've got quality. Then you've got relation. Now, quality, for example, the gold colour. The gold colour. Quantity, well, it might be any quantity at all. So gold has form received in matter, and it's receptive of quantity, of another form, which again is receptive of other forms. So that's a bodily thing. That's a substantial form. Or an accidental form, I'm sorry, we're talking about here, aren't we? So keep those examples in mind, it'll make it clear. And we'll take that up from next class. Thank you very much.
There you go.